All right, hello everyone and welcome. My name is Vincent with Outdoor Outreach. I'm a field instructor, former Outdoor Outreach participant, and leadership program graduate. For those of you that are new here, Outdoor Outreach is a San Diego-based youth development nonprofit that connects youth to the outdoors as a space for them to build resilience and confidence in their power to make a difference. Today I'm joined with Tatiana Butte and special guest Serge Dedina, Mayor of Imperial Beach and Executive Director and co-founder of Wild Coast. We're hopping on here with you all today to stay connected to our outdoor outreach community. Our goal is to promote active living, mental health, and well-being during this time of continued uncertainty. So to start off, we'll do a quick introduction before we jump into our Q&A with the mayor. And I'll hand it off to you, Tatiana.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tatiana Butte, and I am a 2019 leadership graduate of the cohort. And I found OO through my local high school, Morris High School, go Tigers. And I am a student at San Diego City College, where I'm studying communications and criminal justice.
Awesome. Thanks.
And I'm so glad to be with you guys today.
Appreciate it. And a brief background on our guest, Serge Dedina is the mayor of Imperial Beach and the executive director and co-founder of Wild Coast, an international nonprofit that conserves coastal ecosystems and wildlife. The son of immigrants, Serge grew up in Imperial Beach, where he has lived, surfed, and raised a family since 1971. He began his environmental advocacy early. As a high school student, he stood in front of bulldozers to protect the Tijuana estuary, which today is nationally protected wetland. While researching the conservation of the gray whale, Serge lived in a small fishing village in southern Baja, California. Serge continues to fight for clean water, a healthy environment, and access for all parks and beaches. I also want to thank Serge and his wife, Emily, for being committed to long-term support of outdoor outreach for over 10 years. And with that, I'll pass it off to Tati to kick off our Q&A. And for our viewers at home, feel free to join in to our conversation with comments or questions in the chat box.
So before we get started with questions, how are you today, Serge? How's it going?
Oh, I'm doing great. I think we all ask that question now, but the reality is we're all living in a global pandemic, and many people in our community, first of all, have lost their jobs and are suffering the economic devastation, and also additionally, obviously suffering from this COVID crisis and the coronavirus disease. So, we say we're doing great, I think, to keep our spirits up, but the reality is many folks in our communities, and especially in San Diego, it's clear that south of 805, our communities are suffering the greatest disproportionate impact from this disease, as well as this economic tsunami that has just ravaged South County. You see the highest levels of unemployment now are in South County, from Imperial Beach all the way to Southeast San Diego and Barrio Logan, Chula Vista, National City. So with that, I'm doing great, glad to support outdoor outreach, but obviously as a mayor and a conservationist, dealing with all kinds of issues related to this crisis we find ourselves in.
Yes, and it is important for us to discuss about what is going on, the reality of what we're all going through, and thank you for touching on that. So I'm going to start off with the first question. How do you define a good leadership?
Leadership is pretty simple. It's doing things that make a difference. It's not worrying about what people think. It's identifying issues and problems that need to be solved, and hopefully building a team to actually figure out how to find a solution. This is something we've talked about in the city as well as Wild Coast. No one said it was supposed to be easy. It's really easy to read a book or see a movie about leadership and, I want to be like Dr. King, and I'm not even in that same level. But the reality is anybody that goes through really tough times and has to make tough issues and deal with really big problems and powerful people that don't want to change them, it ain't going to be easy. It never was easy, and it never will be easy. But I always have grown up with an immigrant family with little money, and we're always outdoors, and whether it's surfing or running or hiking. Who said climbing a mountain was easy, right? Who said going down when you learn to ski or snowboard the first time and you're falling, who said that was supposed to be easy? Who said paddling out was supposed to be easy? So, and more importantly, and I think for a lot of us who grew up in lower income communities and had families where there wasn't a lot of money, man, every day wasn't easy, right? And so I think that's a good training ground for being a leader, right? Like if you don't come from a community where you don't have a lot, you don't really have a lot to lose by getting engaged. So that's my long answer. Fine, I'll give you the real short one. Just get stuff done, man. Don't wait around and spend too much time thinking about doing the right thing. The more you practice doing the right thing, the more you do the right thing. So that's my short and long answer.
Thank you. Thank you so much for answering. On to the next one. On community engagement, what advice would you give to young people who want to make a difference in their communities, but don't know where to start?
So yeah, we all live in neighborhoods. We all have neighbors. We all live in cities. And so really the issue is what needs to be, I always took it when I was a kid is, identifying things that needed to be improved, right? Like for me in Imperial Beach when I was a kid, especially was saving the Tijuana estuary or stopping pollution. So it was really working at a micro local level. So, for someone who lives in San Diego, you might want to say, well, there's an empty lot in that neighborhood that's filled with garbage and covered with a chain link fence because they're everywhere, right? By the way, I'm obsessed with getting rid of empty lots that are protected by ugly chain link fences and filled with garbage. We got rid of them all in IB. And so what can I do to actually improve my neighborhood? And that may just be improve my street. How can I build, but more importantly, how can I build a team to advocate for that? I think someone I learned a lot from that, doing that was actually Executive Director Ben McHugh. I was into I was the hammer when we started working together and used to work at Wild Coast. And I think Ben was really good at sort of having us go to a different kind of model where we really tried to build a team and do more advocacy. But I think it has to be laser focused. And there's a real good opportunity in San Diego, whether it's working at the local San Diego County district level with council members. And the more specific and focused you are, and you're focused on tangible things like, again, how do I put crosswalks on a street? How do I make sure that when kids go to, a city to go surfing lessons, they're not charged $1,000 by a city, right? I mean, all those kinds of things are real specific, tangible things. How can we go camping at Silver Strand State Beach? So I think that's it. Identify something that's real actionable, really not a big deal. It's not a big thing, and get practice and actually getting things done. And the reality is all elected officials want to be greeted by smart, cheery young people who are really positive, who can't wait to make a difference. But more importantly, arrive with a real specific plan like, hey man, we've got a great project for you. We're going to fix that empty lot. It's not going to cost you a dime, but we want you to help get credit for it. We'll take lots of photos. We'll get it in the news and we'll make it happen. And we can do it like tomorrow, right? Like that kind of attitude, that kind of can-do attitude is really helpful. That doesn't mean they won't say no. And there was a real guru nonprofit leader in San Diego who said, our jobs are to turn no's into yeses, right? No's into yeses. And sometimes when people tell me no, I immediately say, I think they should all be fired. Like I'm in meetings sometimes with government officials where I listen to them and I go, if I was in charge of you, you'd all be fired. But that isn't really very effective. So you've got to control you can't be like I used to be and lose your temper, and which I do sometimes, but really try to be focused on the project. The more people you have in the room, the bigger your tent, the bigger your coalition, the more diverse it is, whether you have the Girl Scouts or the Boy Scouts or a church, right? Or all your neighbors. You always want the grandmother you always want the matriarch of your neighborhood involved, right? Like if you get a grandma involved, then you're great. If you have a grandma and a cowboy, right? And then members of your church, then that's like the winning coalition, right? Like the bigger it is, the better it is and the more effective you'll be. And then you have all that energy and community to do other stuff.
Yes, if you have a whole team behind you, nothing can stop you. I can understand that. Next question is on mentorship. Tell me about a mentor you had growing up and how they supported you to where you are today.
Yeah, I was really lucky in Imperial Beach. I got really involved in saving the Tijuana estuary, I think when I was around 15. And so met a guy named, actually a couple, Dr. McCoy and Patricia McCoy. And Mike McCoy is sort of like the John Muir of Imperial Beach or San Diego. And they really helped me sort of like get involved in this project. And they've always been available. to me for advice and support. But there were always people like that in the community. I really was in my community, became a lifeguard, and there were lifeguards that would help me, people that would write recommendations for me. So your goal really, look, and maybe you're different than me, but if you grow up in a community without money, you want to surround yourself with people and support. And there's always going to be, I call them the elders of the community, and the people that are really well established. If you grow up in a community, I'm the same way with kids now, and a whole bunch of people I grew up with. Our biggest goal in life is to help younger people do well, because we all have vivid memories of all the kids we grew up with that ended up in jail or dead, right? Like my best friend growing up, I started surfing with, was in prison for 25 years for killing somebody, became a meth addict, and then he just got out and now he's back in. And so those memories of all the kids that we lost and all the people that didn't make it are probably help motivate us to keep being involved with kids in our community. And so I kind of collected mentors as I went along. I'd always have somebody that I could turn to, and many at the same time who I needed advice from, and they really played a big role. And I think that's this idea of building social capital, right? And human capital and maybe mentorship capital. You always want to identify those people that can help. And the reality, it's not just take, it's give back. And I think what you want to do is have those mentors who are giving to you, but they're seeing that you're giving back to the community. And that's gold, right? That is the gold. That's the money. You can't monetize it because it's priceless. But at the end of the day, we're all super rich because in millionaires in mentors and mentees.
Yes, give one back in and you give one in.
Yeah, right.
That's exactly. Next question is, what is your favorite park or beach in San Diego County? And describe what the perfect day outdoors would be. And who would you be with and what would you be doing?
So, I'd have to say, unfortunately, it's been polluted for a while now, so I can't be there. I'm not going to be in the water, but the south end of Imperial Beach near the Tijuana River, river mouth is first it's a national wildlife refuge and state park, and then a marine protected area. And I just absolutely, you walk down the beach, it's sand dune. If when you're looking to, especially in the morning, you're looking to the east, you just see the sun rising. You can't see Tijuana in the background. In theory, the water's pristine because it hasn't been raining. You paddle out. I'm usually with my boys and people I've grown up with, literally people I've known since I was a little kid. And if you're lucky, there'd be a pod of bottlenose dolphins out surfing. I've had them go under my board. They leap out of waves. There's pelicans. The waves are beautiful. Not all the time, but really, really magic place for me. And, one of the big things, I grew up surfing there. My kids grew up with me surfing there and my friends. And so it's been really terrible that it's just been polluted for so long because that's a place I connect to the most. The fuel that keeps me going is the ocean, is the outdoors. And so having that supply of fuel cut off has been really, personally, I guess, traumatic. I'm not a victim, but definitely traumatic for me, and having such a great spot. It's also cut off for everyone in California as well.
And this is a great segue into the next question is why beach access is very important to you, and it's because of the memories you had growing up and how you grew up by the beach and how it has influenced you in your career life.
Yeah, so my parents were from Europe, and my mom grew up in England, in London, being bombed by the Nazis. So my mom's memories of a child are literally bombs coming down. My grandparents' house was actually blown up. My grandmother was under a bomb shelter, so she survived. And so I may get emotional thinking, because I talked to my mom about this before she died. My mom's biggest memories after the war were going to southern England. And remember, back during the Second World War in England, the beaches were barbed wire. You couldn't go to the beach because, they were worried about the Germans invading. My mom's first memory after the war was going to the beach, going to the seaside. It was a huge deal. And then my father's family escaped the Nazis. He was in France. My father's Jewish. But his vivid memories before he came across to America was being at the beach. And there's wonderful photos of his family at the beach when he was a little kid. And then he was an immigrant kid in New York. They were in the Bronx, and they would go to the beach, right, Coney Island and stuff. And then when my parents met after the war in the 50s, in the 60s, we lived in LA. And so we live far away in LA, in Arroyo Seco, right near Pasadena. And we load up the station wagon and drive to Venice Beach or Malibu. Like, the beach was our playground. My parents didn't have any money. So, you know, gas back then was, I don't know what it was, 10 cents a gallon. We just get food, right? Potato salad, and we just be at the beach all day, and it didn't cost a dime. And so, yeah, my greatest memories of my family, we'd camp, we borrowed old tents and camp at state parks. Whatever was cheap and free, that's where you could find my family. And the whole California coast was cheap and free. And then we started traveling to Mexico and Baja California, and that was even better. It was cheaper and even better, right? And people were even friendlier. So, yeah, that's to me, and I think what I noticed then and I see now is the beach is our main street, right? The beach is our central plaza in California. It's our melting pot. Like, you see, now you go to the beach, whether it's Huntington State Beach or it's Santa Barbara or Ventura or La Jolla, it is, everybody's at the beach and all the kids are having the best days of their life. They don't know who has money, who doesn't. It's not about status. It's just like pure joy, right? And that is more important than ever. And think about what happened during this pandemic. You would think like there was a nuclear bomb that went off. Well, the nuclear bomb was people didn't have access to open space and they didn't have access to the beaches. And what I think I mentioned was, well, a lot of us in Imperial Beach haven't had access to the beach, it's been closed, but I think Outdoor Outreach knows that a lot of folks in San Diego don't have access to the safe outdoors ever, right? We're in neighborhoods that they can't get to the beach. And I think that's why Outdoor Outreach, your mission is so important, and making sure that we make that kids can get access to the beach, because everyone should be able to access clean air and clean water and have a great day, whether it's in a beautiful park or a trail or at the beach, right? And I think for a long time, we've taken all that for granted, and now we know we can't, right? Now we know that it supersedes everything else, that during the greatest pandemic that this country's known since the Spanish for 100 years, the thing that people wanted the most was clean air, clean water, and that emerald blue vista of the ocean. So that's why supporting organizations like Outdoor Outreach is more important than ever, and making sure that our kids can be in safe streets and safe neighborhoods and have access to clean and safe clean air and clean water, right? That is critical. So all those environmental justice and issues of social equity matter more than ever.
Yes, yes, they very much do. And especially during these times when we all just want to go outside and just enjoy the fresh air and just try and be sane within the outdoors. It's very important. I'm gonna let this next question go to Vinny.
Awesome. I'd like to thank you, Dedina, for just responding so thoughtfully. And yeah, thank you very much. So my question to you is, do you remember the moment you realized that you not only enjoy the outdoors, but wanted to make it a priority to conserve those places for others? If so, what were you doing? Where were you? Who were you with, both physically and or in your career? I know you kind of touched on that before, but maybe if there's a memory in your head.
So where I was, when it kind of crystallized that I wanted to spend my life protecting the outdoors.
Right.
You know, probably lots of different places, but really transformative experience living in little villages, fishing villages in Baja California, Sur, Mexico, where gray whales go. You know, I've got big motorcycles outside. Let me close my door, excuse me. Sorry about that. So my wife and I spent 2 years living in a field in southern Baja California doing PhD work on gray whales. We lived in a little tiny village where gray whales go and give birth, where I still work today at Wild Coast. And then we lived in a place called Magdalena Bay, again, fishing village, where I still work today at Wild Coast. And I think, you know, and issues of people and the environment were so interconnected, because we're living with people who have no access. There's no running water, there's no electricity, there's no grocery store within 40 miles, horrible dirt roads that when it rains are impassable. And it was such a transformative experience being around people who are connected to nature but have to make a living from nature, and are dealing with these issues of the environment every day. And so it was such a unique experience, but also offered a lens into, you know, how do we save the planet? What does it mean to work with people and carry out sustainable economic activities and protect these amazing species. And so I think it was those moments. I was with my wife, Emily. We've been together since 1985. So we met as undergrads, and then we're in grad school together. I think we were in our late 20s. And yeah, it was such an amazing experience. We lived in a little trailer that was, we had solar panels on the roof that I made. I ran a laptop that ran off a little battery. So yeah, I think it was then. We had some really, really, really incredible experience, whether it was hearing whales sleeping and breathing at night. There's spots right next to our trailer, or living on an island for a month in a little tent with just a card table and 10 gallons of water that we get from fishermen, watching people slaughter sea turtles, which was horrific, or go out fishing for sharks. So yeah, all those things were really transformative and I think led to this path that I'm on.
That's beautiful, and thank you for sharing that. And I think what I got from your message is the connection. You know, that's what it is, and that kind of solidifying that connection, and yeah, just enjoying the beauty of the outdoors. So I just want to thank you, Mayor Dedina, for coming on here today and being our guest. Thank you, Tati, for coming on as well and helping with the Q&A with Mayor Dedina. I'd like to thank our guests at home for tuning in. Mayor Dedina, I'd like to say that you have so much love here on our Outdoor Outreach Facebook page, and everyone says thank you for coming in and thank you for your support of Outdoor Outreach, and it goes on and on. So again, thank you all, both Mayor Dedina and Tatiana, for being here, and thank you all at home for joining in. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, I make one more message.
Yes.
We will get through this. It won't be easy. We have to continue working together, supporting each other, loving each other, because that's what's going to prevail. So thanks to everybody. Keep moving forward. And we love Outdoor Outreach. So keep up the great work, guys.
Yeah. Thanks, Mayor.
Woo!